This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, Marana Karakasthana. That is the topic of the day. And before we start, we need to make a prayer to Lord Shiva to protect us. Om Namah Shivaya. Our topic here is the Marana Karakasthana. The word Marana means death. It means to die or to decay towards death, to gradually move towards the space of non-existence of the body. So Marana definitely refers to the body. That is the most important thing. What is dying is the body. Therefore, Marana refers to the death of the body or parts of the body and things related to the body. And that is why this sthana or the place refers to bhavas or houses from the lagna. So Marana Sthana means the place where the planet is going to die. Every graha has a karakatva, a signification. And in what is discussed here is the natural signification, Naisargika karakatva, the natural signification of the planet. So the natural signification of the planet, or what the planet stands for, that is going to die. So the karakatva is going to die. Everything is not going to die. Everything is not going to end. So we need to be clear that Marana Karakasthana refers to the dying or the passing away or the decay or the getting spoiled, getting ruined of the significations of a planet. And that is what MKS or Marana Karakasthana stands for. What causes such a planetary position? Why is the planet in Marana Karakasthana in the horoscope? That is one of the important things we need to examine in order to understand the Marana Karakasthana. If a planet is in Marana Karakasthana in your horoscope, you would like to know what you have done in the past to make this planet so offensive in your chart. Why is this graha so offended? Why is he feeling so completely disgusted with you? So we need to understand that, and then we will go into the possible remedies. So today, as we start on the first lesson of Marana Karakasthana, this is our agenda, and we shall examine these. What are these sthanas? The planets attain Marana Karakasthana by being in certain houses from Lagna. I repeat, in certain houses from Lagna. So that is the first preposition. That means planets in certain houses from Lagna are in Marana or in death positions. Questions have been asked to me about Arudha Lagna, and it is well known that death is seen in the third from Arudha Lagna. It does not happen everywhere from Arudha Lagna. It does not happen in specific houses from Arudha Lagna. Arudha Lagna is very different from Janma Lagna. Arudha Lagna is primarily of Rajas Guna. There is a lot of Rajas in the Arudha, and Arudha is all about Rajas. Whereas the Lagna is principally of Sattva Guna. And that is the reason why the sun becomes the Karaka for the Lagna. But the Guna of the Lagna and the Guna of the seventh house are totally different. Whereas in the case of Arudha, the guna of the Arudha Lagna and Arudha Saptama are essentially the same. They are of Rajas guna. So therefore, these Marana Karakasthanas are not exactly having the same meaning and the same implication from Arudha as they will do from Lagna. Another question that has been asked to me was whether the Marana Karakasthana is the same or has the similar meaning in the Varga charts. We shall not be discussing this right now because our focus is firstly to understand what it is. And unless we do that, we should not be venturing into Vargas and all those other details. You will observe the table on the right hand side. The Graha is there and the MKS is mentioned. And the Karaka out here is not really the signification of the planet, but which planet is signifying the house which is Marana Karaka Sthana for the Graha. For example, the Sun has Marana Karaka Sthana in the 12th house. And this 12th house has Saturn as its significator. Moon has Marana Karakasthana in the 8th house, and for this also Saturn is the significator. Mars has the 7th house and Mercury also has the 7th house, for which Venus is the significator. In addition, Mercury has the 4th house as its Marana Karaka, for which the Moon is the significator. You will observe that whereas Sun and the Moon are basically Marana or dying in Dusthanas, Mars and Mercury are dying in Jala, in the water places. So water, Jala Tattva or water, is causing Mars as Agni and Mercury as Prithvi to get destroyed. So the water is flooding the land. When Mercury is in the 7th or in the 4th, it shows floods. It shows destruction because of a lot of water coming over the land. Whereas Mars in the 7th shows fire is being put out by water. Like, that something is burning and there is a rain and the fire is put out. That is a positive indication. There could be negative indications as well. Jupiter is Marana in the 3rd house, which is the Kama Bhava. Also, it has to do with battles and fighting. Jupiter is the god of peace and he represents everything that is peaceful, non-violent, ahimsa. And in the 3rd house, all that he stands for, all the goodness that he stands for is dying. Venus is Marana in the 6th house, which again is signified by Saturn. So you will observe that the Sun, Moon and Venus are Marana in the Dusthanas. It is very interesting to note this. Saturn, on the other hand, is Marana in the 1st house, for which the Karaka is the Sun. Note the relationship between Sun and Saturn. Sun is Marana Karaka in a Bhava for which Saturn is the Karaka. Saturn is Marana Karaka in a Bhava for which Sun is the significator. Rahu, on the other hand, is Marana in the 9th house, which is the 9th house of Dharma, and Jupiter is the significator of this Bhava. Ketu, on the other hand, is Marana in the 4th house, for which Moon is the significator. This also gives us a very good understanding about the relationship between the planets. For example, take Jupiter-Mars relationship. A person who is born on Ekadashi Tithi, birth in Ekadashi Tithi, all the significations of Jupiter will become weak. You will observe that Jupiter has become very weak and his significations have become very, very weak. These relationships, more relationships come out of these. Venus Dasha, Saturn Antar Dasha, or Saturn Dasha, Venus Antardasha are considered quite horrible. So whenever there is a Venus Dasha, Saturn Antardasha, we know that Venus is going into Marana. If it is Rahu Dasha, Jupiter Antardasha, it is not as bad as Jupiter Dasha, Rahu Antardasha. So these combinations are not considered good combinations. And you will observe that the Sun-Saturn combination is very famous as Pitridosha. So now, keeping that in mind, we have that the luminaries Sun, Moon are in MKS in 8th and 12th, which is the Dusthana. The Brahmana Graha, Jupiter and Venus are MKS in 3rd, 6th, which are conflict houses. Fundamentally, they are conflict houses. The Brahmanas, Jupiter and Venus do not like conflict. So if Jupiter is in 3rd house, he's in a conflict house, and he does not like violence of that kind. Venus similarly is in the 6th house, a very defensive house, and this is something that Venus does not like. So these Brahmana Graha, Jupiter and Venus are Marana Karaka in the conflict houses. The bachelors Mars and Mercury are Marana Karaka in the 7th house of marriage. Mercury shows those who are very, very young, not ready to marry, and Mars generally indicates Brahmacharya, and definitely they are Marana in the house of marriage. The malefics Mars, Ketu and Saturn are MKS in Kendras. Observe, Mars, Ketu and Saturn are Marana in the Kendras. Mars you can see in the 7th, you can see Saturn in the 1st and Ketu in the 4th. These are the Maranas. Whereas Rahu is Marana in the 9th house of good fortune or in Purva Punya. What does this imply by Rahu being in Marana in the 9th house? It shows the danger that when you start something, it may suffer from sudden premature end. So it is such meanings are attributed to the placement of the planets in Maranasthana. Now, why do we have such planetary positions causing Marana Karakasthana? Purva Punya, or the karma of past lives, is seen in the 9th bhava. So what are we going to do is, instead of the Navamsha and Sashtiyamsha also we see past life karma, but we are not going to see the division charts right now. We will only focus on the 9th bhava, and we will take the 9th house as if it is the lagna of past life and examine the positions of the planets. And you will observe that these planets are showing some peculiar indications. From the 9th house, the sun is in the 4th, which is 0 Digbala. So we note that the sun is in 0 Digbala. Okay. Similarly, if you observe Jupiter, that is also in 0 Digbala in the 7th house. So these two planets are Marana because they are in 0 Digbala. What about Rahu? Rahu is also in 0 Digbala in the 1st house. So the Sun, Jupiter and Rahu are in 0 Digbala. What about Venus, which is in the 10th from the Lagna? That is also in 0 Digbala. So 4 planets are definitely getting 0 Digbala in the 4 Kendras. Rahu is getting 0 Digbala in Lagna, Sun in the 4th house, Jupiter in the 7th house, and Venus in the 10th house. So these 4 planets are getting Marana Karakasthana because they had 0 Digbala in past life. Because of 0 Digbala, the person ended up doing some bad karmas, and these bad karmas that the person has done has resulted in the Marana Karakasthana positions. So will you remember that these planets which are getting Marana Karaka in Apoklimas, you see that 3, 6, 9 and 12. So these 4 planets which are getting 0 Digbala in from the 9th house, these are Apoklimas from Lagna. So from the Lagna, Jupiter in 3rd, Venus in 6th, Rahu in 9th, and the Sun in 12th are basically in Marana Karaka because in the past life they had 0 Digbala. Okay? Now, then you observe Saturn is getting in the 5th house. The 5th house position of Saturn is a terrible. It shows that what we call Dur Mantra. Dur Mantra. You did some bad mantras, and because of these bad mantras, you are now going to suffer this malefic position. You did some bad mantras, some bad things. So therefore, in this life, you will have Saturn in Marana Karakasthana in the Lagna. This also means that in this life, you will also be attracted to such religious and spiritual practices which are of a very destructive nature. So be careful and be very, very careful. When Saturn is in Marana Karakasthana, you will be attracted towards very, very destructive energies, and you must guard yourself and protect yourself, because the more you go towards these energies, they will actually start destroying and dissolving everything in your life, because this is a process that you started from last life, and in this life Saturn has the power to destroy. So all the prayers that you did, that will materialize now. If you did any black magic in the last life, that will also come upon you in this life. So that is the meaning of Marana Karakasthana. But more than this, as Dur Mantra, Ketu out here shows black magic. From the Lagna, Ketu is in the 8th house of occult. If you count, if you see from this 9th house, Ketu will be placed in the 8th house of the occult. It shows occult powers or the use of some kind of occult energies. All sorts of magical things were used, or you may have tried and indulged in some of these. Basically, this can be black magic, it can also be white magic, it can also mean some kind of occult work like even Kundalini or things like that. Now that will bring Ketu in the 4th house. Now if it was black magic that you did, this Ketu will be very, very bad. If you did Kundalini, Jagrana and other spiritual practices indicated by the 8th house of occult work, then this Ketu will continue to be spiritually very good. However, Ketu in the 4th house will destroy your home. It will tend to destroy your home. It will tend to destroy all your family. So you must be on the guard against such a Ketu. It is a very, very evil planet in the 4th house. What about Mercury in the 8th house from Lagna? Mercury in the 8th house from Lagna means one who has not paid his debts. 8th house of loans and debts. Mercury shows that you took money from other people and you did not pay it back. You took money maybe from a father, maybe from uncle, maybe from a brother, or maybe simply from a bank, and you did not bother to pay it back. When that happens in this life, Mercury will be in the 4th house, and you will still be in the habit of taking loans, borrowing money, always playing with money. You know, you are playing with other people's money. You are not playing with your own money. Some people say that this is good business, but in reality, it is only going to put Mercury and Marana Karakasthana in the 4th house. And houses, bhavas ruled by Mercury will suffer. Now, what about Mars? Mars, you see, from this Lagna, it is in the 11th. And 11th house is the house of friends. When Mars is in the 11th house, it shows that you have a bad company. So bad company, bad friends, gundas, hooligans, army, police, people, you know, you would have all sorts of friends who could catch thugs, you know, who would catch others and beat them up. You used to like to hang around bad people. It is bad company and bad friends because of which you are on a bad path. When you keep such bad company, when you keep such bad friends, this is going to cause a lot of suffering for a lot of people around you. And therefore in this life, Mars will be in the 7th house, and whenever in this life also you will observe that some bad people will come into your life and they will become your friends, and you will think that, oh, these guys are good, you know, they are like this, they are powerful people, this, that. But Mars in the 7th house means from past life you have been looking for these kinds of friends, and in this life these people will come and they will destroy your marriage. Your 7th house of marriage will be destroyed. You will become like an army man walking around, you know, like a living in the barracks with no family, nothing, you know, some kind of a mercenary warrior. So therefore this Mars Marana Karaka is really bad, because all your relationships are gone, and nobody wants to befriend you, because it is that bad company, that energy of the bad company from past life, that is following you even in this life. What about Mercury in the 11th house? Mercury in the 11th house shows unscrupulous methods of earning money. In the last life, you were earning money from very, very bad sources, from very bad things. You did bad things to earn your money. And therefore, in this life, depending upon the extent of how much money you got through these bad sources, maybe by cheating people, maybe by stealing, maybe by, depending upon the Rashi. If Mercury is in the 7th, in a house of Saturn, you stole some money and such things, you know, there, according to that, you will also be punished. So therefore your 7th house of business will get destroyed. Mercury in the 7th may destroy the business, and things like that could happen, you know. And depending, you know, a lot depends upon the house involved and the yogas involved, because Mercury as such will definitely spoil the bhavas it owns more than the house where it is placed. Now you observe, from Lagna, Moon is in the 12th house. From this house, Moon is in the 12th house. What is the meaning of Moon in the 12th house? When the Moon is in the 12th house, it means that you did not care about your body, you did not care about anybody, you were very sloppy, you did not eat in time, you did not sleep in time, maybe you were just least bothered. You see, whatever, if the Moon is in the 12th from Lagna, you are basically not bothered about your health and your home and your mother and such things. Moon in the 12th is not a good position for health, because fundamentally you are ignoring your health completely. And therefore in this life the Moon will be in the 8th house in Marana Karakasthana, and all the bad habits of ignoring health and bad habits that damage your health, you know, bad habits like maybe alcohol, maybe alcohol, smoking, marijuana, all those drugs and all that, you know, 12th house Moon, all that can cause premature suffering in this life. It may look strange that how come in past life the person consumed alcohol and in this life he is suffering from liver disease. Very, very peculiar things, how karma works. So karma is very peculiar, you know. So I hope this would give you a broad understanding of how karma is working in your life. We are going to start today with one Marana Karakasthana, which is the Marana Karakasthana of Surya. And you will observe this is the chart for past life where Surya will be in the 4th house. And this is the present life where Surya is in the 12th house. So I'm basically taking the 9th house as the Lagna and then Surya in the 4th house. So basically we are looking at the karmas that would have been caused by Sun in 0 Digbala, resulting in Sun in the 12th house in this life. Now when I look at the past life with Sun in the 4th house, it is called Indra Dosha, because Sun in the 10th house is Digpala Indra, because Sun is in Digbala, and the Devata for such a 10th house position of Surya is called Indra. And when Sun is in the 4th house, it will destroy others' home. You see, you have resulted in the destruction of other people's home, their marriages, because home here basically has to do with the marriage and relationships and all that, and rape and things like that are happening. This is called Indra dosha. Indra dosha means like suppressing others, forcing oneself on others, like pushing them down, like making them slaves. Such thing, slavery and all that, that all comes from Surya in fourth house. Now Rishi Gautama's wife Ahalya was seduced by Indra. We shall study this and see how this is working. There is a curse and redemption. Rishi Gautama we need to study about. We need to understand how Rishi Gautama's curse on his wife Ahilya was actually delivered by Jalandhara Shiva and Tulasi Vrindavati. We'll discuss about the rape victim Ahilya. Ahilya was the rape victim over here, and why we need to worship Sri Rama to remove the stone effect. There is something called a stone effect because Ahilya became like a stone. So in order to understand this Maranakaraka Sthana of Surya, we need to first go into the background for why this thing was caused in the first place. And we also need to be clear as to what sort of an Indra dosha. Indra is a king. So Indra dosha or the king doshas are coming into the picture when the sun is in the fourth house in any chart. And when these karmas are getting activated in a very negative way, in the next life, sun will be in Maranakaraka Sthana. So both the rapist as well as the victim, both will have this Maranakaraka positions then. You see, and we need to understand what exactly happened. Was Ahilya raped? Ramayana Balakanda. Indra, enamored by Ahilya's beauty, he comes to the ashram disguised as Gautama during Rishi Gautama's absence. I just needs a slight correction. It should be Rishi, not Rashi. He requests sexual intercourse, praising her. Now observe, she was proud of her beauty. Now a person who is proud of their beauty will surely suffer because of the pride. Whatever you are proud of is what shall be your own suffering. And that is the indication of Surya, because Surya causes ahankara. Whenever you are having ahankara about anything, whenever you have ahankara about any person, that will suffer, because that is Surya dosha. And here Ahilya had ahankara about her beauty, and therefore Indra came and requested sexual intercourse, praising her. Ahilya sees through his disguise. Now, although Indra had changed his appearance, being a Devata, he had the power to change appearance. He had changed his appearance to look like Rishi Gautama. Although he had done that, Ahilya could see through his disguise, but consents owing to her curiosity and or desire. Now the words used in the Ramayana Balakanda are clearly pointing at Ahilya as having a desire. Having satiated his lust, Ahilya requests that Indra, her lover, and the best of the gods flee and protect them from Gautama's wrath. So the only person who was insulted in this entire episode was Rishi Gautama. Indra had broken the code of honor of not touching a married person's wife, and Ahilya had broken the code of honor of marriage by having sexual intercourse with a person who was not her husband. More details are there in the Skanda Puran. Ahilya smells Indra's celestial fragrance and realizes her folly as he indulges in sexual act. Perhaps she was unable to stop him at this stage. The question is, did she really consent at that stage? Because by that time she got his smell and even realized that it was not her husband. Was she in a stage where she could say no? I do not know. But she did threaten Indra with a curse. which means that she was angry with him, she was mad, and that she compelled him to reveal his true form. And by doing that, in fear of Ahilya, Indra revealed himself. And that's how Indra was actually caught. Now, question is, the Skanda Purana is clear that it was not fully Ahilya's fault, but there was a desire to be touched because her husband Rishi Gautama was too deep in meditation, and perhaps she felt this desire and she felt her youth going away. Whatever it is, this is what happened, and this is seen as a very negative thing. Indra undoubtedly had raped Ahilya. Padma Purana. Gautama leaves for his ritual bath. Indra masquerades as Gautama and asks Ahilya to satisfy him. Ahilya engrossed in worship. Now, when Indra approached Ahilya, at that point of time, Ahilya was engrossed in worship and she rejected him. This is slight more detail that the Padma Purana gives, considering it inappropriate to have sex at the cost of neglecting the gods. So, although Ahilya thought that it was her own husband calling her, she did try to say no. So Indra reminds her that her first duty is to serve him, who he has already changed his form as Gautama. So finally Ahilya gives him. The rest is known. So now I ask each of you to sincerely think about this episode of Ahilya and decide for yourself to what extent is Ahilya at fault. Of course, Indra is totally at fault. To that, there is no debate. Prayers will be interrupted or mishaps will occur at the time of prayer, puja, or in temples. So when we have the sun in the fourth house, as is there in this chart, if sun is in the fourth house or in the 12th house, you see, your prayers could get interrupted and your pujas could get disturbed. And this is the indication that some mishap could happen. It just shows that the sun is in zero Digbala and Indra is basically trying to seduce you and damage you. Punishments. Now coming to the punishments, this is an important part. Cursed by Maharshi Gautama to turn into stone and remain invisible to all beings for thousands of years, fast by subsisting only on air. That means basically fasting is the way forward over here. Suffer and sleep in ashes and be tormented by guilt. That is the curse to Ahilya. The torment of guilt. All the time she will be tormented by guilt. She will be reminded of what she has done. And that is because the sun is in the fourth house. So fundamentally, you have sinned and you know very well to what extent you had desired. So therefore, to that extent, the guilt will torment you. That is the meaning of that. But the fact that she became like stone, she actually became a stone, or her feelings, her feelings went away, or the touch, maybe the touch in her body went away. That could happen. Probably it indicates that people can have skin diseases, or some way the skin gets damaged or disfigured or spoiled, by which the touch goes away. So you become like a stone, you don't feel anymore, and therefore that is the suffering that is caused by the sun in the fourth house. Redemption only when Sri Rama visits the ashram and touches her with his holy feet. Now, Ahilya was redeemed as per the Ramayana, but Sri Rama touched him with his holy feet. Now, in Jyotish, we know that the feet refers to the 12th house, and in this case, it is pointing to the Dwadasakshari Ramachandra mantra, or the 12th syllable mantra of Sri Ramachandra. Om Namo Bhagavate Ramachandraya. Say with me. Om Namo Bhagavate Ramachandraya. Om Namo Bhagavate Ramachandraya. But this is for sun in the fourth house, for this is what Ahilya suffered. The remedy for MKS will be at the end of the lessons. Okay, so bear with me till we come to the end of the lessons. For there, the remedy for the sun in the 12th house will be available. Till such time, please use Om Namo Bhagavate Ramachandraya. And especially if you find anybody with the sun in the 4th house, please remind them to do this mantra. Now coming to Indra. Indra is cursed by Maharshi Gautama to lose his testicles and grow 1,000 yoni, that is vulva, over his body. After penance and bathing in the Godavari river, now here, observe, one who has sinned like this must do penance and take a dip in the Godavari river. These vulva will turn into eyes that will see everything. So at the end of the penance, the power of vision will come. You will be able to see things. The sun god will bless you so that you have to overcome. So the penance is required. The penance is what will help you to get over your sins. That is, if a person happens to have sinned in this manner, then the way to overcome that is to do penance in the Godavari river. People may be reborn with multiple organs or as hermaphrodites or missing testicles, etc., due to this karma. So it is obvious from the writings that people will be born as hermaphrodites. That means they are men with female organs or women with male organs, or having multiple organs or missing organs due to the bad karma of raping someone. Indra is further cursed to lose his throne, endure captivity, and bear half the sin of every rape ever committed. Now imagine the problem that Indra has to go through now. Every rape committed ever on Bhuloka, 1/2 of that sin will go to Indra, which means every time somebody rapes someone else, half of the sin has to be taken by Surya. And that is going to show in Surya, in the placement, positioning, strength, and the what we call the dignity of Surya in the horoscope. So in a way, Indra has become the Devata for rape, and Jalandhara Shiva is the protector of the Rishi who delivers. So Jalandhara, now the name of Shiva is Jalandhara. Jalandhara refers to the 4th house, basically, which is the Jala Lagna. So Jalandhara Shiva is the one who delivers the curse of the Rishi and punishes Indra for his dastardly act. So whenever somebody needs to be punished for acts like this, it is good to worship Jalandhara Shiva. I will leave it there. Also, to come out of such suffering, it is good to worship Tulasi in the form of Vrindavati. Her name is Vrindavati and her mantra is Om Kleem Vrindavatye Namah. You can break one Tulsi with this mantra, Om Kleem Vrindavatye Namah, and put the Tulsi on your tongue, and that should take care of dealing with what bad karmas you may have done. So please ensure that you do this. Now we see the first chart